Indoor cycling, Zwift, racing, parenting. We cover those and all of our hopes and dreams in between. Welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast, an entertaining look into the lives of everyday people trying to achieve virtual cycling glory from our basements and garages from around the world. This podcast is rooted in Zwift and has evolved into found friendships, fitness, health, and a little sprinkle of humor. This may be one of the only podcasts where a little heavy breathing shouldn't scare you away, because we're riding our bikes while we're recording it.
All right, welcome back everybody to another week. Seems like, I don't know, for me it seems like the weeks just go by so fast. Maybe it's just because we're doing so much, I don't know. But anyway, today we're joined by Brad Hochstetler of Dirty Mittens, formerly of Eat Dirt. I'm correct, right?
I wouldn't say formally, but still loosely affiliated.
Still part of, but
Yeah.
used to ride more with, I guess. Anyway, Brad, over the last couple of weeks, organized Clash of the Clans. We're going to have him on talk a little bit about that. Before we get into that, Brad, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And after listening to last week, I'll tell you, I'm intimidated to follow Neil Greenwood because that British accent, man. You guys could have just been like, Neil, read this user manual for your microwave. We're all just going to listen. And I would listen the whole time. So, so I am 46, even though I don't feel it most days. Live in Traverse City, Michigan, which is way up north on the lower peninsula of Michigan. Happily married to my wife for 20, going on 21 years now. We've got 3 great kids, despite the fact that they're all currently teenagers. So we
I
live
hear
at
you
a great
can't hold
place
that
up
against
here.
them.
No, that was just really poor planning on our part at some point in the past. So, I'm an ophthalmologist here in town. Been here for about 10 years. So that means I do eye surgery and take care of eye diseases and problems. And this town that we get to live in, Traverse City, way up in northern Michigan, is a kind of a vacation and retirement destination. So it's a beautiful place to live, even though it's a little bit out of the way. And got a great cycling community, great medical community, and it's been a great place to raise kids.
And how did you get into cycling? Have you been in it for a while, or?
I kind of have been. I got interested when I was after medical school. I did 5 years as an active duty flight surgeon in the Air Force, and had a bunch of guys there that rode mountain bike and rode. So I kind of got into it some then, and then that's when we started having kids. So it faded away a little bit, and then when we moved to Traverse City, it's got a great cycling scene again. So I started doing mountain bike races and some of the real high intensity group rides around here. And so I've kind of done that mostly on dirt, a little bit on the road for about a decade now.
Very cool.
And then, of course, how'd you come to Zwift?
Zwift was, man, I know everybody says it, but for me, it was still seriously a game changer for life. We've got about 4 months of usable weather up here because of how crummy the weather gets a lot of times. So you ride super intensely for 4 months, and you either come into it kind of in shape, or you just get destroyed all season long. So there were a couple of cycling studios where you'd show up at like 4:30 in the morning before work, and like just stare at this little graph with numbers. And I did that for a few years, and then I saw on Strava a guy that I had ridden with some and didn't know that well, but I saw him riding, and his rides were like showing up in the Indian Ocean or the South Pacific. I was like, what? I know that's not right, because I just saw him yesterday. So he worked at a bike shop, and he told me about Zwift and sold me my kicker. And so I joined in kind of late summer of 2016. So I've been on Zwift for a long time.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And that guy that sold it to me is Cody Sovis, who's now a very recent Eat Dirt edition. So it's kind of come full circle.
Cool.
And then, how did you come about riding with Sully and the crew? Did he stalk you?
So he did not. That was ended up connected with Sully after an admission of my own weakness. I'd been very, very early member of Dirt. Like I was on the first sprint of Palooza, like in 2018. I just looked at that ride last night. There were 12 of us on this first sprint of Palooza. Wow. When Sterney was just kind of getting things spun up. So, and then I forget how the coordination went with the first, when WTRL started their time trials. So I was on a bunch of different teams early on, and like I rode a couple weeks with Dirt Diggler, which I believe is no longer a functioning squad most of the time. And then I ended up riding with Troy Eddy and the Dirty Steamers for a long time until it was clear that I was the weakest link on that team. And I was just getting the absolute stuffing kicked out of me every week. So like, man, I got to find a different team. And he's like, oh, I know this guy, Sully, who's got this Eat Dirt faction of Dirt now. And so he put me in touch there. And I was like, hey, I'm a small guy, not great watts per kilogram, super low raw watts. So I probably need a latte team. And Sully immediately hooked me up.
And that was all we had back then.
That's right. He was like, I've got the perfect squad for you. So
conveniently also the only one, huh?
Right. So I rode with two early on for a while, and
for a long time.
Yeah, we ran right through the beginning of the pandemic, and that's and then Eat Dirt's just, Eat Dirt's seems to suit my personality of all the factions that have kind of splintered off of Dirt. So it's been a great group for me.
So not only is he still part of it, he's riding with Drew and I this year.
That's right. Yeah.
You're right. I stand correct. Oh, I sit on my saddle corrected. The darn research department again. So,
Cool.
Yeah, we were talking about the Clash of the Clans, which this last early, I guess it'd be early spring / late winter. There were a couple different series going on, and I got them confused again in my brain. But the Clash of the Clans was your baby, right?
Yeah, that's right. It just happened to. It was completely independently spun up of the guys that are doing the Dirt Race series, which is a great series. It just all kind of hit at the same time.
Most of us tried to make both work because anytime we get unique racing situations, we like to try and field them out, so.
Yeah, for sure. And fortunately ours, Sterney did get us in touch at some point to make sure we were kind of deconflicting the dates of who was riding when. So that worked out all right. And that kind of grew out of early in the pandemic. There was the great kind of real life racing scene we have around here. There was just kind of, everybody knew it was going to disappear, and they were closing events, and all the gyms were closed, and people were buying kickers like they were on fire. And so I'd been the person most experienced on Zwift, so I ended up talking a bunch of people into doing that, and we started putting together kind of fake meetup races, and that grew from like the 10 guys I usually ride with to by the end of last winter we probably had 40 to 50 guys racing, and those are all like local Michigan guys. But we were doing it through meetups, and it was real clunky. And then this season, Sterney got me connected with some privileges for Zwift Power, and then that kind of allowed me to start putting up private events for those events, and that made it a whole lot easier. And by the end of the season, we thought, man, this has been fun and grown a lot, and we wanted to expand it to include everybody from dirt, because that had been another kind of virtual dream of mine, to have a bunch of groups from dirt racing against each other, which we had talked about doing very early on in dirt when we were in the morning grind Fondo, and early races where it was all dirt and KISS. So
I'll be honest, I didn't realize your history with dirt, like that you've been around dirt for so long. So it kind of makes sense now that you were one of the founders of the Clash of Clans, which is cool.
yeah, it's been a great group for me, because it's a much exploded version of kind of what I've got real life here with some of the guys I ride with. And I haven't ridden it for so long, but I was one of the guys I helped develop and was a ride leader for XLR for a long time, right before any of you guys were on dirt.
Yeah.
Yep. So who is Dirty Mitten then? Who's in there with you?
So that kind of started this. That's a good question. That's kind of started this fall or last fall, when we kind of started taking some of the privileges from Sterney and dirt to do our own private thing. I thought that we needed a brand for our kind of faction of dirt that represented dirt and us. And Michigan is the mitten state, so
Right.
kind of just came about that everybody kind of rides under the Dirty Mitten flag now.
That's cool.
And Greg joined us for a couple of those rides
Yep.
in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, I
After,
got an
after
invite
doing
from
like
Brad to join the Strava group, and I was like, okay.
Oh,
And then, because that's where a lot of the info was posted, at least that I could see.
that's been kind of part of the challenge, is making sure getting all the info to the right places. And
Yeah.
Strava group worked really well for the guys that are just used to in real life stuff.
yeah.
We were talking before we started recording about the concept of herding cats and how challenging it can be to get, let alone a team, then, 5 different factions of dirt racing at the same time. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, and we tried to find a way to make it work so that it made sense for, didn't have to have a team. You could show up whenever you wanted, race one week or race all 4, and still count toward the team.
So, and you guys chose to do the half categories too, right?
Yeah,
And
and I think other than having some really small categories at the top and bottom, that worked out pretty well for the B and C riders.
Yep.
Yeah.
It seemed to be a lot more fun. I'd done that like once. I jumped into a Mad Monday ride one day that I was off and really liked it. But that's a great way to do categories for what we've got available to us.
I really wish that Zwift as a whole would take that into account for the racing part of it anyway. Because I just feel like,
Yeah,
not just for being competitive in your category, but because if I'm lower on the B scale, but there's somebody that's a little bit stronger than me, and I can see that they're in first and I'm in fourth or something, I'm going to push a little harder to get to that, to try and get first, right? As opposed to if that person in first would be mid-pack and the rest of the pack is just way up front, you're not,
Right.
wouldn't necessarily push as hard. That's just me, maybe.
You're not alone.
yeah. Well, I'm
The
sure.
half cats were huge. I mean, I was a newly promoted B, and I was not looking forward to racing full category B yet. So the half cat was nice. Still finished in the bottom half, but I was there.
But you got
It
some
was a
points.
smaller half then, right?
Yeah. But the point structure was good too. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you can, no matter what you do, somebody's got complaints about
Oh, yeah.
how it gets set up.
Yeah.
So the scoring was gratuitous, I thought, a little bit for the number of points, because we ended up with like teams with 4,000 points after one race.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought that was an awesome part of it.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
good.
Here's your sprint points. You get 20,000 points for the sprints.
Yeah.
Right. It was like it was like Mario, but it still was. It was pretty amazing to me going back through the results then and seeing how close like it was within that huge number.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it came down to like at least between what Watson and
Dirt.
Dirt was like 20 points or 40 points or something.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
yeah, to like 5,600.
Yeah. It's nuts.
So yeah, that was
So-
kind of the goal to kind of get everybody in dirt connected with each other, and I think other than maybe TTT, that's the first time I know of that like different dirt NZRL, different dirt factions have kind of gone head to head in a broader field.
Well, I know, like for our
And
team,
we kept the category. Yeah,
well, I was gonna say for our team, I brought Matt Koval kind of into he joined our ZRL team last season, and he was doing some racing with that, and then it turns out he's in ZRL again, and now he's on our TTT squad. So it's funny how those little race series bring people into the fold,
Yep.
yeah,
Make them aware. It's also funny too because I know early discussions, at least, there were a couple of guys who rode with different teams, depending on schedule, different things. It was funny to see the decision making into which clan should I join, which clan should I represent. It was funny to see those on the Discord on Facebook. So, made you choose.
The people that are in multiple teams, you mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I didn't realize that was going to be such a dilemma for some people. They really agonized over it.
I don't want to annoy my friends over here, but
Right.
I really, really want to ride with this group.
Then you see where your true
had-
allegiances fall.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. See who you will actually show up to race for.
That's right.
It was cool too. I know. I think who was it? The A riders actually used like team tactics, right? Where
Yeah.
they tried some fun stuff and within the clans. So that was really cool to see too.
So that was part of our as we were kind of putting that together. Thought if we keep it half categories, but it's still kind of a mass start, especially with a neutral rollout.
Yep.
That would allow like A riders to help B riders to help C riders, and try to really emphasize that team aspect of it.
Yep.
Boy, that
Seemed to
neutral
work out fairly
rollout,
well.
that was wonderful.
What a polarizing topic though, huh?
To not
There was
go,
no gray area on that one.
yeah, to not
You
go
either
600
loved it or you
watts
hated it.
at the beginning, where
It
it's
was-
pointless.
You know, it's funny because I would hear from people like private message after the race. First, and they're like that neutral start was terrible. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
That'll never work. That made my race miserable. Then the next week, same person. The neutral start was awesome. I loved it. You should definitely keep this.
Make up your mind, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice
thought
if,
it was
there's, some of the things we tried to do, and that I tried to do in the more private series and then in this, are just some of the tools, hopefully, that you don't have to work so hard to make work for you in Zwift eventually, and they can kind
Yeah.
of build into tools for the race builders. Like a neutral start.
We've
I
only
think
been waiting, 3 years for like a TTT start, so
that's-
should be any minute.
Zune.
Yeah. Zoom.
Zoom.
It's so infamous
God,
it has
yeah.
its own word.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the neutralized rollout though was cool because it, at least in my opinion, kind of eliminated the sign into the pen early, make sure you're there, make sure you get a good position in the pen. Like how many times in ZRL you could sign in 3 minutes after, the pen opens and you're
Yeah.
still in the back. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, this is going to suck for
Well, I sit
the first
there with
10,
my
15 seconds.
finger on the trigger, just waiting for that little
Yeah.
blue pop up on Tuesdays. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh, there it is.
Yep.
Yeah, and hopefully
You're the first
eliminated
one to hit it.
didn't have to leave the pen at 400 watts or 600 watts or whatever your
Right.
6 WKG is.
Right.
Yep. I thought that was cool. That was a good idea.
Yeah, we had done that for kind of our private series all the last 2 winters, neutral rollouts, and it worked mostly. It started as an incentive to get guys to ride and race who were definitely going to show up partly hungover and weren't going to get a warm up in, and that way they knew they could. I started them actually at 10 kilometers. Was the neutral rollout in the first series that we did 2 years ago. So they had ample time to kind of get warmed
Guys,
up.
The rollout is 1/3 of the race. So.
Right.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. It's like a chill pace bot ride until 10K in, huh?
Yeah.
And then it kind of ramps up, a little more natural, like a real pro race where people decide they're going to start to go off the front and just that hammer out of the gate.
Right. Which, again, serves no purpose other than just making people work really
Right.
hard. Because most time, if you're in the pack in the beginning, you're going to stay with it or at least put everything you can into it. And then it calms down and you get a little recovery. So it's like, that was pointless. Anyway, so do you have aspirations of doing another Clash of the Clans?
Yeah, that was, we certainly will. I did a survey with some feedback, which was generally positive for it. And biggest question will be when to do it, because like I said, we're approaching our nice weather window here. Like anytime that it's above 50 degrees and not raining or sleeting, people are going to be outside. So, so the other dirt factions though may benefit from it, but I kind of said we're going to hold it off till next fall when it's a little more indoor season.
Which other factions are you going to bring in, if I can ask?
Oh, we may just, the overwhelming consensus on the survey was to keep it just a dirt series.
Oh, really?
Kind of within dirt, yeah. So I'm not sure I 100% agree with that, but I think it does keep. There's something to be said for organizing Zwift races and events to kind of keeping it to known quantities mostly.
Yeah, I don't know.
But to kind of expand the rider pool and the competition, especially if you can kind of ensure that the people coming in are going to adhere to the categories, that may be a good addition.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about just keeping it dirt versus opening it up, because, to me, I don't know. I know how I came about joining a team, but I don't know, there's got to be people out there that feel like the team they're on may not be suiting their needs. And the only way to experience kind of a different team atmosphere is to ride with other ones, maybe.
Hop around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate and disagree, Todd.
Feel free. I always love being challenged.
Clash of the Clans. I didn't get to ride it because it coincided perfectly with, like right when my church went back to full in person on Sundays. But I don't know. I was really excited at the prospect of an all dirt check-in sort of event series because, I don't know, I'm very plugged into Eat Dirt. I know riders on the other squads and stuff, but I don't know everybody. I don't know probably half the guys in Watts or Rascals at this point. And I do not have unlimited time to surf Discord. I blow it all on Eat Dirt, so so I don't know.
That's the place to be.
I thought it was an awesome idea. And even if it's like just a semi-annual series for all the dirts to get exposed to one another outside of CRL and outside of TTT, which is, I don't know, a bit more distant
Yeah.
and fierce in competition. I liked very much the attitude that people brought to Clash of the Clans. So there you go. And I have no idea. I feel like it'll just keep getting bigger, or Dirt keeps getting bigger, right? And the
Yeah.
active riders change.
I think that's 100%
So who
true.
knows what the fall brings?
I will say, to your point, I got to ride with, and I'm forgetting his last name, but Brad, you may help me out with this one. Spencer of your squad.
Yeah, Spencer Mendel. Yeah.
Strong, super strong. There was one race, I remember he was off the front doing like, I don't know, 4 or 5, something like that, and had an individual break and basically rode it out to the end of the race. And I remember I commented, I was like, I think Spencer may have taken the wrong IPA. Just, doing my thing, being obstinate. Yeah, I'll use that word. So, but yeah, he's a good sport. He did well too.
Yeah, that race, that was his plan for our team, and that was, we may have been the only team that actually came in with real tactics.
that's probably true. At least on our side, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I can hear both sides of that, and it kind of depends on what's going to be important going forward. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and Spencer has since joined our Monday morning blues ride, and just been hanging out and lurking in the pack there. So some real life connections from a race series again.
Yeah, he's one of those guys I've only met once in real life, actually, even though he lives in Michigan. But he got connected from a friend of a rider that we all ride with, and it's a great way to end up knowing people.
Oh yeah. What would you say was the most challenging part of running the series?
The thing that I think I didn't do as well as I'm sure it could have been done that was challenging was kind of getting the word out to everybody.
Yeah.
I know there was plenty of, went out across the Discord servers because I don't do Facebook, and I don't have any like internet or web building skills at all. So
Yep.
I was reliant on Discord, and so it was discouraging to be hearing by that 4th week, like, what is this? I haven't heard of this before, and I want to ride. So kind of the messaging and the getting the word out was definitely the hardest part and most frustrating. Because Zwift Power, man, once you have the tools as an organizer, it actually makes it fairly straightforward to run some fairly uncomplicated races, at least.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to say, I was almost expecting you to say that the tallying the points and getting the results out may have been the most challenging, but I can see that.
No, that was actually, this is probably the easiest it's been for any of those private races I've done. We started out like during the pandemic when we were just doing meetups.
Yeah.
I had instructions out to like all the riders to, once you cross a segment, you gotta screenshot the leaderboard for this lap, and then like dudes would have to send it to their team captain, who would like send it to me, and we'd like have to like crowdsource the results of who got what picture, and there were some crazy discrepancies sometimes. Like, wow, what I'm seeing on Zwift is not exactly what everybody else is seeing.
That's funny.
So to that point, Drew, that's Zwift Power made it immensely easier than we used to do it.
Yeah, sure. Huh.
That's a whole other realm to me.
Zwift Power.
It's like, oh,
yeah.
I guess I was not aware. I mean, I'm sure I probably was at some point, that you have to, as an organizer, like sync things up through Zwift Power. So I'm assuming you organize the event on Zwift Power and put in like which segments are which, and
yeah. So the way it actually coincided this time, especially for Clash of Clans, was pretty fortuitous that they just made the clubs open. And so once you have a club, you can create an event, and then you can share that event as a link so that only people with the link get it. So that's how it went out. But then once an event's created, it gets loaded into Zwift Power. Even as a club event, you can do that with the right tools. So that helped a lot. And you go set all the race settings for first across the line and, 17,000 points for the first place. And you can kind of set it any way you want.
Interesting. Very cool. I know because after like ZRL races, we're all pouring over the primes there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to do the math in our own head.
Yeah.
All right, so you got laps 1, 5, and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like
it's
like a list of a mathematician trying to list out prime numbers. That's what you see after the race.
Yeah.
1, 3, 5.
And I think early Greg was it Greg, and when we had our first ZRL team, you would have a scratched out Post-it note with all what you expected the points to be, and you'd post that. Yes, that was excellent.
I'm sure it was a pink Post-it.
Yeah.
You use pink just for the
visibility,
or practical.
I've got
and the reputation.
I've got color-coded Post-its at work, and pink is the top priority item.
Understood.
The brightest on the desk.
Happy to know that we're a top priority, right?
Oh, yeah. I was TCT very early. Pulled out the pink Post-it, jotted down my thoughts and notes. That was before we had spreadsheets to break out teams and figure out everyone's numbers before we were pulling numbers off of Zwift Power.
And Greg's beautiful maps.
Yeah, good maps.
Oh,
Days
yeah.
of old.
Beautiful maps.
They were works of art.
Glorious highlighter maps.
Highlighters and pencil scrawls.
You should put together a book.
Good old days.
How did you guys come up with the course selection, Brad?
We've raced most of the courses through our kind of more private Dirty Mitten races. So, but then you kind of look through to see, do you want a flatter sprint heavy course where guys are going to score a bunch of sprint points and that makes the tactics work one way.
Yep.
You can be kind of rolling with fewer points. And then trying to find ones that are, I wanted the series to be a little bit longer than a regular Zwift race. So people got a good weekend workout in. So looking for something that's going to take 75-ish minutes for, honestly, for me as like a medium B, I'd be like, that's mine. I don't care what the C and B and A riders end up with. If I can get a 75-minute race, I'll be good.
Yep. That's cool. Yeah, because otherwise you get, the ZRL first race this season was the Road to Ruins. No segments, but hell of a challenging race.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if there was like a process, and I know for me it would probably just be like, I like this course. This looks fun.
Yeah, some of it was that.
And
especially when we did Sand and Sequoias, that's like my favorite course. So I was like, we're gonna do that, and you guys complained about it. At least my local guys did.
I feel like that's a great course for the split cat stuff, because I know for me, as a higher C, we would drop the lower C's, and I was a lower B. I got dropped by the higher B's, and it was cool because we were in the split cat.
Well, and that course lends itself to like different challenges as far as like 1 minute power, 2 minute power, depending on what segment it is.
10 minute power.
Sprints.
Going down the, Yep.
So
you got a sprint and a calm one every lap. So.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go crazy with it and put like 13 sprints in a single race, Brad?
I didn't. I was thinking about that maybe for next time around.
Seems like a great idea.
It had to be a mix because then the guys that aren't sprinters are like, what am I doing here?
You're holding the pace for the rest of us. Quiet.
Right.
That's one of my complaints is that doesn't even work in Zwift really.
Holding the pace.
Like the idea of like, I don't know, I'm never going to be an explosive sprinter. I'm no Neil, but
Well, not with that attitude. You're
I
not.
can probably lead. Yeah, correct. That's fine. I could probably lead out pretty well. But I don't know. That's one of the things that's kind of missing or hard to implement within Zwift.
Yeah.
So if it's a
team tactic.
Let's talk about that for a
especially.
second. Sprinting in
Sure.
Zwift. And this is my opinion. So preface this with some ludicrous, advisory thing. But
Okay.
I think most people, when it comes to sprinting, just try to like get as much resistance as they can and spin against it while not trying to wreck their bike, right? Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah.
Panel of 5.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, right?
When-
you got two,
Yeah. I think
two camps,
there's- Yep.
When
jack
you
up your
realize
resistance,
that
and then
your
build
bike
up your
will not
cadence,
break,
or
right?
wind up your cadence real fast.
And you focus on cadence as much as resistance, your sprint will be better.
Yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. Cadence is important. And,
I don't worry about wrecking my stuff. But
Sure.
that's
Can't hide money
Yeah,
down
I was gonna say that may be a luxury that I can afford, but
Actually, 60% of this podcast is on a dedicated trainer bike.
it's right.
Yes.
We're the odd man out, Drew. But I'm not worried about
That's right.
breaking my stuff, Dodd.
You're just worried about breaking yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I can win a long sprint.
I was gonna say, don't you tell me you don't have a sprint, because you whipped me on that rooftop railway sprint, whatever it was,
Yep.
Yeah,
handily.
That was it.
I can pull that off, but the 15-second, like, I don't know, leg explosion, I just don't know if that's ever going to be me, and that's all right.
Now, what is Zwift better at developing? Sustained power or like sprinting power?
Well, I think whatever you want, really.
Ooh,
Whatever
yeah.
you want it to be.
There are enough segments of different length and challenge that you can really target just about anything. And I think that's one of the things I think Swift
Right.
have been very mindful about, creating a diversity of challenges.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Greg. And I do know that sprinting, just from being around and listening to a lot of smart people, I mean, some of that is that 15 seconds. Some can be based
Yeah,
on your equipment. Like, I know that if I put my power pedals on my bike and I sprint with those pedals, I have a way better sprint than I do just on my trainer bike alone. So, and I don't know how many millions of people as
Dozens.
an audience this reaches.
Dozens.
I'm not
and
going to give
dozens.
away dozens. I'm hoping to not give away any trade secrets, but Chris Osberg,
Yeah,
if any of you guys know that name.
Wattsburg.
Yeah, so he was Wattsburg. Yeah, he was invited on one of those YouTubes. I think Zwift Insider put it together, like the top 5 sprinters on Zwift in the world, and he was one of them. He's got a Stages bike, and he says before a sprint he'll hold his brake, which will like give him just, I mean, 1,800 watts like instantaneously, and you're never going to bring that sprint back if you're not.
It's funny because Tim Oberman, who's one of the Obermans, he was saying in one of our like morning discussions or whatever, talking to Sully about the Stages, and he uses that same tactic for his sprint, just hit the brakes.
Now I've ridden with Chris in real life, and I've seen his Strava. So I know he can do the same thing outside on a real bike. So for him, it's
Right.
definitely not a fluke.
if I start seeing Sully throw down 2,000 watts, I'm gonna know something's up.
We know the system. The interesting thing about team tactics, the funniest one was ZRL last season. Like I mentioned it, Eat Dirt A's got together and TTT'd the back half of the first course.
Oh, yeah.
And it worked out really, really well. Problem was that trickled down to the B's and the C's. And every race there was that discussion. Oh, this looks like a great course to TTT. You know, we got a couple of guys that we could do it. You know, if we're there, if everybody's in that front group, never did work out. So to your point, Greg, about team tactics are tough in Zwift.
Well, and stuff like TTTing a course together or beating someone out, like when you let out Hannah in the World Champs last 2 seasons ago.
Yep.
Like that was perfect, but like the sprint pack thing just doesn't really translate in the same way.
No.
Because positioning is so fine positioning is way harder.
Yep. Especially when the best tactic for the sprint is the group sprint. To sit in the back of the sprint and surf some wheels.
Right. If you have a team of 12 guys and you've got one dedicated sprinter, fine. Put your firecracker at the back. But otherwise.
It's tough.
Well, Greg. Oh, sorry.
I think with the mixed categories in the clan races, we got a little bit of that because I know there were groups of low B's that the C's hung on to, and then they, with that pack of 8 or 9 guys, could lead them out a little bit for the sprint, as well as Zwift would allow.
Yes, Zwift being the limiting factor there, right? As per usual. Did I say it? I said it. Sorry.
As per usual.
Greg, is it time to bless us with your segment?
Return to the old segment.
Yeah. We missed it last week.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Greg was out sick.
Intrepid viewers and listeners will recall last week's episode of Only Crickets. Actually, can we get a banner splash that says COVID crickets, Doug?
Yes.
Thank you.
Check that. Yeah, write that down. Yeah.
So this week we will return, and I'm sorry that we missed it. Things have been pretty wild, but we return to Worldle Woes. I think I got all the L's in there. You may recall Worldle is like Wordle, except they just give you a picture of a country, and you got, 6 guesses to figure out which country it is, knowing nothing else about it. And in the past week,
like not a map picture, right? Like a picture of.
Oh no, they give you the map picture, but you get no context. You don't know neighboring nations, region.
It's just like a picture of the United States of America as you would see it on a map. And you have to identify which country it is.
Please.
I have not played in that channel for quite some time now. I honestly thought you made that up. But it's real.
No, it's quite real.
Okay.
Oh, it's real.
I'm
causing
sorry.
quite the stir this week.
So I Worldle is a recent favorite because perhaps more than any other, it attracts the maximum number of eye rolls from Steve because you either should have gotten it and how could you not know that country, or that's total BS. There's no way that you knew that country. Which and they love Worldle delights in giving you like a island Pacific chain, and you're like, I don't know, there's 500 countries over there. Or when you're along the any coast of Africa, it's like, I got nothing here. What was yesterday's, Drew? Yeah, exactly.
Gabon.
Okay.
Gabon.
Yeah, which
from the west coast of Africa.
I was like, I don't know. I know it's on the west coast of Africa. but I don't know the name of that country. So apparently Arsenal fans persevered because they could come
Arsenal
up
had
with the names of
a former
countries.
player from Gabon. And I was like, oh.
But have they
I know
ever,
that country.
have they ever felt the rain down there, though? I mean...
Have to have.
I couldn't.
The number one strategy, Brad, for what it's worth, is to get yourself, because it'll tell you how close you are in kilometers from the correct nation with each guess.
And I give you an arrow to direct you to your next destination.
Once
right.
I mean, my strategy is get to the right region, right continent and region, and then just start typing in letters and seeing what countries pop up. And when one looks like it could be in that area, I'm like, yes.
There's no chance anybody would ever cheat in that game.
What
was it last week? It was like Benin, something like that.
Sure.
And Benin. And I was like, no idea what this is, but I know it's on the west coast of Africa, so let's just go to the map.
You're like on a game show. Let's go to the map.
Form. Let's go to the map. Steve jumped on and was like, there's no way you knew that. And I was like,
So you're
guilty.
So that's
no
why
idea
Steve
what that
has a
country
globe
is.
next to his bike now.
Is that what?
Excellent.
Or one of those pull-down maps that he got from his school. You know, the old school ones.
Oh man, that
used
would be
to
awesome.
Roll up.
That was his green screen is just a pull down Mercator projection.
Yes.
Layered pull down for each continent.
Yeah.
The best is you get like the usual characters who play the various games every day. And so like Greg will log on and he'll do
It's
Wordle,
like a blast of all
Absurdle,
these
Dordle,
blanks and stuff.
Hurdle, the film one, Worldle. Yeah.
Greg,
There's probably like 6 or 7 people who do every
Greg, do you
single
save
one
them
every
up
day.
and just post them all at once, or do you like post them as you do them, or are you just doing them that quickly?
I either do them over breakfast if I have the time, or I wait for like a lunch break and sit down and grind them out. I like to get all my puzzle games out in order if I can.
Do you have a specific checklist that you use?
That's priorities.
Run us through it.
Wordle
first?
No. Well, I mean, I don't necessarily have a specific order. Wordle generally comes first, but after that, usually what happens is I'll post Wordle into the Discord chat and then see which one everybody's squawking about. If it's the movie guess Framed, is that the movie one?
Yeah.
And Hurdle, the listening, the song segments.
I know, right, Brad?
Good grief.
Yesterday's Hurdle was crazy.
Impossible.
Almost nobody got yesterday's Hurdle. There's an artist by the name of Coffee, a Jamaican-sounding young woman.
Listen,
nobody got.
We did the Hurdle, which is where they played like the first couple seconds of a song. And I was like, I had it. My wife was sitting there at breakfast with me, and I played it without any hesitation. She's like, "Dancing Queen, ABBA." I looked up from my eggs, and I was like, "What?"
Excuse me?
Yeah. She's like, "That's Dancing Queen by ABBA." And sure enough, she was right. And I was like, "I did not realize you were such an ABBA fan." She's like, "You don't know that song?" I was like, "I know the song. I couldn't have guessed it from the first second."
It's literally the first segment is 1 second long.
People had very strong reactions to that one, and I was like, "Did you guys not have moms growing up?"
Yeah.
Apparently, I live with one.
Yeah.
A mom from the 90s. She's told me before, my wife. She's told me before if she could go back in time and be born in any decade, she would want to be a teenager in the 80s. Which.
Drew, have you not gone to see Mamma Mia, man? You're a New Yorker.
I did see it. I got the ABBA one.
Okay.
I was I don't know. I saw Mamma Mia a while ago. Yeah.
Guys,
I got the ABBA one. I was happy about that because, like Greg said, that caused quite the stir. And
the week prior, I did it, and it was Hall & Oates. I don't remember the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I got that one pretty quickly.
What was it?
And can I just say that when I was younger, I used to think Hall and Oats was hauling oats. Like you had a truck full of oats. I'm like, why wouldn't you be hauling oats?
Oh yeah,
I can say it.
Yeah.
Sure.
same.
Makes sense to me.
So, Greg, I hate to
Oh,
interrupt
please.
your segment, but I just got dropped hard.
Have you been
What are you
racing this
racing?
whole time? I knew it.
I was going to say I could see there were
I was
periods.
wondering, I was like, why is
Sully was muted,
muted
and then there were
so
periods where
quiet?
he was going. I was like, okay, Sully's putting out big effort right now.
Yeah. And he didn't
What-
make
what are you
any
racing?
comment whenever I called him out on his 2,000 watts.
Clearly working harder than everyone else. Yeah.
He was busy holding on.
Yeah.
Petite KOM.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Oh,
Oh,
that's a tough one.
Where what series
Yeah.
or event?
With the Evo Sprint,
Yeah.
it's Cas Pots,
Yeah.
or whatever. Cas Pate.
I don't speak French. LP would tell you that that's.
I got dropped on that hill as a C. Forget being a B.
Pretty sure I dropped you on that hill with Hannah.
Yeah,
with
Yeah,
Hannah.
I can say yes.
Yeah. Like I think even
I was
God
I
dropped
think
me.
I was in third that race,
I was like,
and first and second
Yes.
were at least a minute ahead of me.
yep.
So
Yeah. How about I was I think like fifth or sixth, and I was 2.5-3 minutes behind you and Hannah. So I was like, yeah, this is not going to plan.
So what? When you get dropped from the group, what's your motivation? Because I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm riding Z2. Like I might as well just quit. I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yep.
I talked myself out of
This
it,
is-
but as soon as I wasn't with the group, I was like, why am I
This is
riding?
my complaint. This was my complaint
That's it.
back in November about racing in B1, at least for me, because I was just strong
Yeah.
enough to hang on for like a lap and a half, and then I'm getting almost no training benefit because for ZRL you don't want to chug along at your own. You want to find a group so you can maximize points. So you can't just
Right.
like switch over to a threshold ride and ride alone. They're going to catch you anyway. So I don't know the answer to that question, Silly.
for me,
I mean, from ZRL.
That's
like you
why.
said,
That's
the
why I
points are there.
renounced
Ah, yeah.
A1. Greg. And I
Hey,
didn't
that was a
he
listen
good
to
call.
shunned it, and then he upgraded anyway. I can't believe we haven't brought that up yet.
yes. I was gonna say he came over to like
Yeah.
dominate D2.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys from Michigan that I'm riding with are like, who is this Sully guy? Like he's pink and he
Yep.
just hangs out.
You
And
can't
then-
let Sully finish the race in the pack
And
because
then
your
it's
race is over.
Right. I tried to tell them that one day, Sully. Like seriously, my team, I was like, we have to drop Sully, or he's
They're
gonna
like,
win.
no, he's just
and
a
it
C.
didn't
He's
work.
not going to hang on that long.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Famous last words.
I'll never forget.
Uh-huh.
We were racing RGT. I was still a B. Sully was recently back to C, maybe. And it was, what was it, leg snapper, Sully? And like, I made it over. I got lost the big group coming over the leg snapper. And then Sully was with me. And I was like, no. The whole time I was like, I can't, because I couldn't go fast enough to drop him. He could hang in my draft perfectly unless I did like a sprint and killed myself. And then every like 100 meters we got closer to the finish, I was like, ah, and he's like, it's over, dude. You can't, because we're on audio. And he's like, it's over. Just give up. I'm like, no.
The intimidation factor is real. Why are you even riding, Greg? You just going
It's
to
not
lose.
intimidation. It's facts.
Yeah, it's just
That-
what it is.
Dad, the crazy thing is I didn't even win that race on Monday.
Yeah. Wait, the one you upgraded?
The guy
I
that
was
beat
gonna
me got
say, we
DQ'd,
saw
so
the
I
winner.
won. But
I mean, you had a gold trophy when I saw it.
all of the top four except me got DQ'd.
Huh. Yeah, you
So
won.
you won.
Well, but in the race, the guy, he was small. He only averaged like 212 watts, but he did 3.6 for 20, and then he did like a 14 watt per kg
That
sprint.
tracks.
And Dad, I pulled the brakes and I hit like 1450
For 15 seconds? Jeez.
No, just for peak. You were talking about
Yeah.
2000, but I did 1335
what?
for 5 seconds.
I have
which
brakes
was a
on
PR.
mine too. I'm gonna try it. See what happens.
You got
Have you
to
tried
time
it,
it
Brad?
just right, Dad. I can tell you that for sure. I haven't figured
All
it.
right.
I haven't
Friday.
figured it out yet.
It's going down. Sprinta.
It doesn't. Yeah, the kicker might react differently, but it doesn't. I don't know how they do it for long sprints,
Yeah.
Is it like
and I don't really like sprinting at a super low cadence, and I feel like it's going to be hard.
So let me
to-
ask you:
bring it
when
back
you hit
up.
the brakes on yours, does it slow the flywheel down, Sully?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Because I know on the kicker,
interesting?
it will slow the flywheel, but it also adds resistance.
Yeah, it'll definitely pop.
You know what?
your
Let's
power.
try it
I just
right now.
haven't figured out how to time it right.
Drew, why don't you talk to us about what movie you watched, if you watched one? And I'm just going to sprint real quick.
Yeah, last
Drew's
Last
feeling a little
MCU.
insecure about his segment. He got some complaints.
Screw the haters.
Yeah,
Cancel.
shake them haters off.
Yeah, I
Yes.
replied to Drew. You keep it
So,
on.
yeah, I saw that, Brad. I appreciate the support.
We brought Brad on this
Keep
week to
doing it.
encourage you, just so you knew you had a fan here. By the way, we
Yeah,
call
we,
him B-Rad.
Correct.
That'd be rad. That's right. Yeah, we
That was. I did not name myself that. By the way, I'm
DJ
a
B-Rad
pretty humble person. Yeah, exactly.
was the original name,
From
I
the-
think.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. That's from. I made a playlist every week for when I led ZRL or XLR, and that lasted about 4 weeks. But
All right.
Not
I think I
me,
have some
name.
insight on that. Sprint real quick.
how'd it
It's
go?
when you spin up and then you lose your resistance because your cadence is so high,
Yes.
it will add it back. Because I didn't lose resistance that whole time.
So
Were you
Yeah.
able to hold the cadence?
do you? How do I ask this correctly? Were you holding it down as soon as you started to lose that resistance and keep it hold, or keep it held?
That's how I will try it the next time. But this time I started when I started to go, I hit it.
Yeah.
It was basically I couldn't get my cadence up.
Okay.
So
All right.
I think it's
So it's like
I think the
it's
trick
like
is-
trainer resistance.
right. So get your cadence up and then pull it. We'll see.
Interesting.
I'm gonna try it. Anyway. Sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
No, it's good. The actually last weekend I didn't watch a Marvel movie because Herd series started, and Sunday I didn't ride, so that was that. Last movie I watched was Ant-Man,
Oh yeah.
which was actually very interesting. It was a good movie. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, but I'm a silly, goofy kind of personality, so it was
You?
right up my
Nah,
alley, and
you're
I
serious.
really enjoyed it. I'm always serious. Come on. No, I think one of my favorite parts, I think we were talking about it actually last week off camera with Woody, was the scene where they're in the bedroom at the end, and there's like lasers and there's explosions and the train is on the track. And then they cut
It's like
out
a
and the
model
pops
train,
over.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Thomas the Tank, little toy. But that was a good one. When he first puts on the suit and he's in the bathtub, the water comes rushing at him. They cut out and the guy just turns on the knob. And, yeah,
That's right.
all a matter of perspective.
What's
How's it going? Next up, actually, an interesting one. We have
Oh.
I think, Civil War.
Oh yeah.
such a good one?
Oh,
That'll be good. That's kind of why I was
The
like,
good one.
the
can't
introduction
really
to
watch that one in pieces.
Spider-Man
So-
for the MCU.
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh
Look
yeah.
for that. Yeah, we hopefully this weekend I'll be able to. Well, this Friday actually. Funny you mentioned Sprinter. In real life meetup with the Killer Bees,
Oh yeah.
Monica
Oh,
and
yeah.
Brosterman.
That'd be fun.
We're riding outside.
What's the over under
Time all
on
year.
Ross.
Put the back wheel back on.
I was gonna say, what's the over under on how long till he gets dropped? Are we doing that? Yeah.
Oh,
First.
me? It's the first hill. I may not even make it over the GWB, the George Washington Bridge.
Nah, Brasa will
There's
turn
a
around and get
Nice
you.
little ramp going up there.
Steve will stay gone.
So
I think
the trash talk that I've been throwing at Steve. When I rode the same route with Brosterman back in the fall, there's a sprint, but it's like a downhill sprint into like a slight uphill. You just got to beat Steve on the downhill sprint, and then the whole ride is worth it.
are
Not
we
sure I'll be able to do it, but
are we really planning to do 100 miles?
That is
in
the
Kentucky?
plan.
I'm down. There, on an actual 100 miler with that many people, there will be stops.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I can't imagine desiring to
Hey.
ride my bike after 60.
Can you imagine desiring to
Like
ride
the last
my bike
century I did,
after 60? Because that's the one you're going to be on.
even more reason to not want to ride 100 miles on a new bike.
With them
when is that? Again? When is
it's
Kentucky?
next week.
Dirt Tucky
Yeah.
Next weekend.
next week.
Weekend
That's
after
right.
Easter.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
21st. Something. Wow.
And I think
So
Brad was the
zoomed.
first eat dirt guy I ever met in real life.
Brad was?
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, is
really
that
go
right?
full circle. See that?
I think so. Because Graham,
Nice.
I won't count. He identifies as a
Yeah.
riding dirty.
Graham's
A little bit of everything, but
Graham's like
Yeah.
6 degrees of Kevin.
Yeah.
And you know,
Bacon,
the
like,
one common
somehow he's
denominator that
everywhere.
everybody
everywhere.
says is like, yeah, I rode with Graham. We hopped a fence. Fences cannot contain
Yeah.
Graham Partain.
Yeah.
Yes. I
He
I
laughs at fences.
I don't think
That's
we
right.
hopped any fences with Graham.
Yet.
yeah, no, same
There you
happened
go,
to me.
see?
I rode with Graham. We hopped a fence.
That's your
Actually, hopped
fence.
two
So
fences.
he hopped it for you.
That's right.
Nice. The first one I did with Graham was like a large group ride he was leading, so I think it was too many people,
Too many people.
too many old guys to hop fences.
Too many valuable hips in that ride.
Yeah, Sully and I met Sully met me in a
Hotel bar,
nice.
hotel bar in
downtown Tampa.
I was
Florida.
hoping you were going to say like Nashville or something. It's like a country song. We met at a hotel bar.
I mean, I'm just saying, when Graham and the Riding Dirty guys came to town, they took me to. They had a suite at the Lightning game, so they set the bar pretty high.
Of course they did.
Hey, I got a pooper in my camper. How's that? For a yeah,
Show
we
you
call
that.
it the suite.
I'm just hoping I can get to Kentucky now that Dan's injured and not going. So
Who's in? Oh, Dan.
I got to
Where
make sure
are
I
you,
can get
where are
to.
you
get you
coming
there.
from?
Yeah.
Oh,
Louisville.
Louisville.
You guys aren't saying it
Yeah, the
properly.
Cincinnati guys will go through
It's
there.
you gotta get it really in the back of your throat, like Louisville.
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 Yeah.
The Cincinnati guys will go through Louisville. Sorry.
At least I don't call it Louisville. I grew up
Yeah.
calling it Louisville, but I had a
Brad, we
buddy
just
after
had a head
college
on.
that was from
Still.
I don't know if you saw
Louisville.
that. Brad and I just collided. And
Yeah, I know. That was I did see
We're
that. I was
playing
like, who's
chicken.
riding straight at me. That was
Concussions for
nice.
everyone.
Sorry,
We've derailed.
I saw Brad just going full force at me. I got scared.
Don't be on the tracks when the train's coming through, Dad.
That's right.
What movie
That's
is that
right.
from?
It's like 200 watts. So
Well,
watch out.
lots of movies, but Major League 2.
Yes, Major League. Okay,
That's
thank
the
you.
one that I remember it from.
Major League
Yeah.
is the one I'm thinking about.
Major League 2.
I still remember
Yeah.
Sully is like the king of the derailing my brain comments. I remember it was one of the early podcast episodes. He said, "It was a gift, Todd." I couldn't think straight for like 5 minutes. All I saw was that painting.
Yeah.
I'll make that my weekly goal. I'll try to do it
yeah.
early in the
Thank
episode
you.
too, like
Yeah.
when you're in interview
Like,
mode.
oh, Don's mid question.
That would be excellent.
Yeah. Just throw out some one-liner and watch me just break internally.
Drive.
Well,
no.
Brad, thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate it. It's always good to have
Yeah.
people with some history and
Yeah, man. Thank you.
new thoughts,
thank
new
you, guys.
challenges. So, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate you guys
Absolutely.
inviting me. And
Till next
Yeah.
week. Now,
See you tomorrow for TTT.
yes, you guys will. Greg and I will
Yeah.
be getting killed on Ocho.
Yes.
Next week, for those listening, he is.
Greg
Yes,
on
it is
that
silly.
I didn't even, I'm gonna be honest, Greg. I didn't even realize you were writing. I wouldn't have
It's
put
too
you
late
on
now.
no show if I knew.
So next week,
I called dibs on sitting in the whole time. Keep going, Don. Sorry.
yeah. We'll protect you, our sprinter.
I
So next week, yeah,
I
I
put
did.
Dot on there on
okay.
purpose, but not you.
I did. I want it.
You asked for it.
So next week we may be a little late pushing out the episode because my plan is to do an in real life episode next weekend with myself, Greg, Sully, a bunch of the guys that are going, and Drew will have to just phone it in. So if it's late next week,
Phoning it in, guys.
apologize ahead of time, but hopefully it'll be worth it. If not, it's going to be a horrible disaster, and you'll hate us for
It'll be
it.
so
But
worth it.
till next week. See you guys.
Next week. See ya.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
all right, thanks.
Suck it, Miller.